I have a theory on Whitepine, goddammit, and I'm gonna speak it as if I know what I'm talking about. And I think the monster killed Mr. Cat. The forest... Okay, wait, let's just start from what we know. So, the first thing that everyone seems to agree on is that when Mr. Cat dies and we hear the scream is obviously just someone finding the body. Then everyone goes to follow. However, I disagree. I don't think that's someone finding the body. I think that scream was Mr. Cat actually being killed. Let me explain. One thing we know about this house is that there's a lot of people who live in here. No matter where the body is, no matter where it's placed, it is going to be found fast. Especially where it was placed, because it was put in the main foyer area at the entrance. If this was placed before everyone got up in the morning, they definitely would have seen it on their way to their rooms. Now, to go off the theory that Mr. Cat was killed after everyone went to their stations, we would have heard the scream. And this is where my theory comes in. Well, if Mr. Cat did die after the morning and before the kitchen scene, well then surely we would have heard the scream. We heard the witness scream loud and clear, so we would have definitely heard the murder scream. And it's not like it happened fast. You can see that there is multiple patches of redstone around the scene. There was a struggle. They had time to scream for their life. This leaves us with three options. Option number one, everyone walked past the body in the morning and somehow didn't notice until around midday. Option number two, nobody in the house heard the scream on Mr. Cat's murder and it was only the witness scream. Or option three, the scream we hear is the murder scream. Now, this brings me to the only option being the third, as the other two seem extremely unlikely. But this begs the question, how was it done? One thing that everyone also seems to agree on is that these numerous holes on Mr. Cat's body are stab wounds. I don't think so. I was talking to my friend Lind and he mentioned one thing. The huge red patch below her head looks more like a bite mark than a necessary stab wound. Sure, it could be either, but that's definitely on the table. So stick with me here. From roughly the first stabbing or the first bite, we had about, give or take, 15 to 20 seconds for the murder to be finished and for the suspect to escape the scene. That is insanely fast. That is unimaginably fast. And not only is that including the amount of damage that was done in that short amount of time, but also the idea that they had to get away to clean their clothes and reintegrate back into the team as if nothing happened. Now this means that every single person somehow either walked past the dead body, or none of them heard the murder. Or it was done extraordinarily fast, so fast it wouldn't even be capable of a human pulling that off realistically. This brings me to point two. Foreshadowing, and more specifically how the forest and the beast are linked to this murder. Throughout the show we see Ivory looking at the forest, a few other characters too if you notice that. Point is, it starts off relatively chill, but as the video progresses the forest gets more and more intense, until eventually we see this scene, and I'll let it play out for you.
Shake the dust out of your duster and we can put these back.
Okay.
Ivory?
Yeah.
We have never experienced such a dangerous feeling in this entire episode until this point, and shortly after disaster strikes. Coincidence? I think not! One thing you might notice if you look closely is that in this one particular scene, there's no fence. Now, you could take this multiple ways. Personally, I think it was just to add the vulnerability to the scene so that it felt less guarded from Ivory's point of view. But another way you consider this is that this is the first opportunity for the monster to get into the building. Now, if you called me for grasping at straws there, I wouldn't blame you. It's just quite random. But the one reason I do note this is because right after this shot, we get a blank shot of the murder scene before the murder happens. Nothing is happening. If that's not foreshadowing, then I don't know what is. These two things are completely parallel, and I believe that's part of the reason we can prove that these two events are linked, and that the forest had a direct causation to the start of the chain events which led to the death of Mr. Cat. This also brings me on to the seeming disappearance of Miss Hemlock. It's evident that Miss Hemlock, or at least the mother of the family, has recently died. We know this for a myriad of reasons. One of the reasons we know this is because the piano supposedly belonged to her, but quote unquote,
I saw there was an old piano in the basement. I was wondering if I could play it.
No.
Okay, sorry, sir.
Wait, no. She can play it.
What?
It's fine. Nobody plays that thing anyways. Let her have fun.
Another reason is that we can clearly see the family going through grieving, specifically the father seeing the worst of it, showing up to dinner possibly drunk, or most often than not, never showing to dinner at all.
Is Dad going to eat with us today?
Maybe not.
Speak of the devil.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
And obviously the fact that she just doesn't show up in the show, I should have led with that. Point being, she's gone, and everyone's grieving over that. But what I want to ask is, why is no one talking about her disappearance? Surely the servants would be talking about it day and night. I mean, their whole entire work is based off serving the family. They live in the house with this family. Yet seemingly she's gone missing. And it must be recent too, because they're still grieving very heavily. And even if it wasn't recent, a murder would have definitely been mentioned to Ivory. This brings me to my only conclusion. The family knows that she is dead, or at least that she is gone, but the servants do not. And I have reason to believe the monster was the killer too. We know that the family goes hunting regularly, so regularly in fact planning a trip for simply the next day is casual dinner talk.
Hey, Pyro. There's gonna be a hunt tomorrow. You wanna come?
Maybe. I don't know.
Now, think of it like this. If someone were to die, and no servants in the house would have known, and the family has a tradition of going out into the forest hunting, it's clear to me that she died, or at least disappeared in that forest. Well, then why do I think the monster did it? I mean, she could have gone off the track, she could have hit her head, she could have died to a hunting accident. Why do I specifically think it was a monster that ended the deal? Well, it's the fact that the family is keeping this a secret from the workers. Think about it. If she died from disappearing, or maybe she slipped and hit her head on a rock, they could easily explain that. They could tell the servants that they were going through a hard time, and the servants could learn how to work around that and be more tonally accurate to their emotions. However, the family doesn't do that. So clearly whatever happened out there was a tragedy. Either one of the main family members accidentally offed her, or it was something much more sinister. Specifically, the monster. Put yourself in the shoes of the Hemlock family. Imagine that you're on a hunting trip, and then one day, one of the members of your family suddenly gets snatched up by a monster and you never see them again. Would you tell your group of servants living with you in the middle of that forest that there is a monster? Well, I wouldn't. I don't think you would either. That'd cause chaos, to say the least. And I believe this is partially why there's the staring out the window gimmick. They know something is out there. We've seen it in their eyes and the awkwardly long poses in the cinematography. There is something wrong with that forest. And for that reason, I believe that the family knows the monster is real, and that now the monster is back and has taken Mr. Cat too. This brings me on to my third point. I think this monster has more depth to it than we are giving. What we know about Ivory is that she came from somewhere quite far away, and she brought nothing with her. Not only that, but as we heard mentioned at the start of the episode, she has a very troubling past. I'll allow this clip to play out, I'll enhance the audio, and I'll add some subtitles so it's completely clear.
You can step outside now and wait in the foyer for now.
Just so you know, she may have a bit of trouble learning things around here. I told her to read a book just on the train, and she picked out of staying up all night to finish the whole thing. Maybe use a bit of care with your explanations, or she might take them too literally. I thought I was receiving a normal, disciplined worker. Oh no, she's disciplined and seems to be a very hard worker. I just feel she may have had something in the past, or something that made her expensive, not working with it. I wasn't like her, but I didn't say that before. I need people who can follow orders and not be overly needy. I wouldn't worry. I actually think she'll be perfect. And if she has a hard time understanding at first, you can look her in the face and say, she wanted something stable, you know? You aren't going to throw her out. I'm dying. The Hemlocks are already expecting us. I wouldn't do anything else. I just wish you would have told me sooner.
I don't know about you, but I think Ivory is running from something. She has left everything she has and she's ran to the middle of the forest hoping she can get away. But that thing has followed her around. I think the monster, and more importantly the story, is about how trauma can affect someone. And not specifically how it can set a character into motion or how it can form their beliefs, but how trauma can ruin a life and come with you no matter where you go. I believe the monster is that personification. And mostly, I believe this monster is going to keep killing people in the series until Ivory confronts her past trauma and learns to defeat it. Only then will the servants be free. Also, I just want to mention there's this one clip right before the murder. If you have a keen ear, I'll let you see if you notice this.
Sir, where do I put this letter? It's from the Honors Emberton Libertarian Party.
Give that one to me. I'll take care of it.
Did you catch that? Let me play that again slowed down.
The Honors Emberton Libertarian Party.
What does this mean? Well, I'm unsure, honestly, completely. I just wanted to mention that I have seen that, I do recognise it's there, and I don't know what it means. So, quick recap. Firstly, they would have heard the scream of the kill, which leads me to believe that it happened in the 20-second window from where they were in the kitchen to when they arrived, at inhumane speeds, doing inhumane amounts of damage, leaving a huge struggle. Point 2. Due to links with foreshadowing, I also strongly believe that the forest has something to do with the murder, as the foreshadowing for both the murder area and the forest reach a crescendo right before disaster strikes. And point 3. I believe this monster has caused issues in the past due to the family's secrecy and their tradition to go out hunting. And last but not least, point 4, I believe that this monster is a symbol of Ivory's past trauma, followed her to her new residence. But for now, that's my whole story. I'm not quite sure what else could be happening, and I can't wait to see more theories, but if I get this right for the record, I called it!